My name is Krista Steves, and I'm the Regional Associate Director for the iHub for the Atlantic region. I do want to let you know that you will be recorded. This session is being recorded as part of our Learning and Development series, so I just want to make everyone aware. I wanted to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from Sackville, New Brunswick, Canada, which are the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. And I wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit about the personalization of indigeneity in my region. So I live in a very small town. One of the jokes is that we have more art galleries than we do stoplights. And so one day this September, I was walking through my small town, and I want to share with you something that struck me. Um, in my small town, there is a little art gallery. And one of the series that was being exhibited this September was by Alan Silboy. He is a Mi'kmaq artist out of Nova Scotia. And I've never seen this before. There have always been exhibits in my little art gallery in town, but this is the first time I saw an Indigenous exhibit, and it really spoke to me as an Atlantic Canadian. This is called Fish Run, and it's something that I just thought was strikingly beautiful. And I was so appreciative to have that opportunity to see it in my own small town. And I wanted to share it with you today. So we are here today. If you're looking for the session, Designing an EL Ecosystem, University of Ottawa's Bet on Competency-Based Approach to Education, presented by Gabriel Ramsay, you are in the right place. We're very pleased today to welcome Gabriel and to have him share his knowledge and to learn more about the EL ecosystem that the University of Ottawa is culturing, curating, and developing. So without further ado, I'm going to move the virtual mic over to you, Gabriel.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone. I'm just going to set up my screens right here. Everybody could see my screen. I think that's awesome. Cool. So, thanks for joining. My name is Gabriel Ramsay. I'm a curriculum designer here at the University of Ottawa, specifically under the Career Development and Experiential Learning Service. So we call it CDEL. It's a repeat of our presentation we gave in June. And I also want to start with a quick Indigenous affirmation. So here at the University of Ottawa, we are on the Anishinaabe unceded lands. And something I wanted to share is that as a designer, as a curriculum designer, it's really important for me to be able to share ideas and concepts in a really accessible way. And on the screen here, we see two contracts. They're wampum belts. The first is the two row wampum belt. It's the image at the top. We have two dark lines that represents basically two travelers, the Indigenous community, the settler community, traveling together side by side down the river. And this is a contract. That means that these two communities travel together, but are still separate. But they work together and they share. The second belt, this one comes from the Hamilton area, actually, and was good to present while I was in Hamilton. It's the dish with one spoon wampum belt. And this, again, is a contract that basically symbolizes that all of the communities they are working to preserve and to use the resources of one area. But so they have to share this one spoon to work together on the resources. And so these two powerful concepts are just represented here in these belts. And as a designer, I think that's it's really important to be able to design our work, to communicate our thoughts and our goals to everybody, so everybody's included and everybody can work together and really understand these sometimes abstract concepts. So the EL ecosystem we are trying to develop here at the University of Ottawa, we have three ambitious objectives. We want to chart a course towards agency. So when students graduate, we want them to be as full of agency as possible. We all know that we have so many challenges in society right now. We need students that have the courage, the discipline, the competencies, but also the confidence to be able to enact change. So we need to accelerate and amplify experiential learning. I think this is our golden ticket. I think experiential learning is the way for that education needs to evolve and integrate more. And to do that, well, we need to ignite the next cohort and we need to explode participation. We need every student to be able to experience one activity or opportunity in experiential learning. So those are our three ambitious goals. To start with that, well, I'm a nerd. I'm a data. I love data. And so we really need to know to understand our cohorts. We need to understand our students. We need some numbers. And so one big investment we started with was actually building a data team. These professionals, they use a data hub that gets all the information from all the servers on campus, and they focus it into some Power BI dashboards. And so we can know what's going on. So every university and college here on the call, you all have experiential learning. You all have pieces of this giant puzzle, which is the ecosystem of EL. Co-op is one of our flagship EL programs. Over 3,000 students participating in co-op every year. That said, we have 50,000 students on campus. And so co-op has a lot of students, but it's not accessible to everybody. And with all of the changes in the job market, in the last year, we actually lost 700 co-op placements. But in the reverse, we also gained 900 plus community service learning experiences. And these are experiences that are attached to courses often, and where students will work a 30 hours with a community partner on issues that are related to the partner, but also to their course. So understanding our numbers, understanding our students, we need data. So that's one big piece of the puzzle. So here's all the other pieces of the puzzle, and you're going to recognize some that you have. So one big thing that we wanted to start with is our models. We needed to know what our EL framework is all going to be. Traditionally, with a big university like with Ottawa U, where each faculty and programs have a ton of resources and people, EL is kind of like developing in silos, right? Nursing has always had experiential learning, right? You always needed to have some nurses that practice how to give people shots in the arm before going on the job, right? And so each program typically develops their EL experiences as they go. But what we're trying to do is really develop a framework, an EL framework that gives us the definitions and the rules of the game of how we can actually kind of like quantify, or how we can actually kind of do a little bit of quality control of what is and is not EL in the classroom. We've developed the 3A model that I'm going to talk about, which is the autonomy, authenticity, and agency model. We have a career corner step model where with limited resources, how do we give career services to 50,000 students with limited resources and staff? And we're implementing a design thinking, a design your life type of model to move students towards more agency and to move students towards preparation, graduation. In career services, we have the Horizons Development program, which is online courses. We have job fairs, workshops, counseling, psychometric assessments. In the academic programs, we got the new EL streams I'm going to talk about. We got new self-directed courses. We got co-op community service learning. In the innovation zones, a ton of programs are developing. The work study program, volunteering, community placements, hackathons are really taking a lot more space. We got four this semester. Student clubs and associations, entrepreneurships, hubs. So these are all pieces typically developed all by themselves. But how do we bring them all together? Um, so in the end, we also have digital infrastructure. So we've developed a brand new app, the uOCompetency app, which is kind of like an online portfolio for students to really register all of their experiences together into a personal portfolio. Online courses, and then the data hub that kind of gives us a big picture of what's going on campus. So a little bit on to continue on the ecosystem. So at the diploma level, we got the co-op program where it's a big old title that goes on students' diplomas. We've just developed the In-depth Experiential Learning stream, which is a brand new diploma level program. It's kind of like adding a minor to a program. The idea here is that 30 credits, which is about 10% of the program, or 10 courses of an undergrad, are changed. 10 courses add experiential learning components to that. And then we use the framework to kind of tag and to make sure that the activities, they respect our model. At the academic program, we have compulsory and optional integration of EL. We have certificates also coming. This would be kind of like a light version of the IELS, the in-depth experiential learning stream. We got courses, so we've just developed this new self-directed course. I'll talk a little bit about it. But basically, the challenge was, how do we recognize all of the work that students are already doing in experiential learning? The captains of the football teams, the student clubs, the student governance. This is all work that students are doing, but that basically goes unnoticed and unquantified in a curricular sense. So we've developed this model, this new course where students can use their experiences, propose projects for credit. We have developed also faculty course codes. This one we've developed for the ELS, for the in-depth experiential learning stream. So like an introduction to experiential learning in the first year. We have intense and short EL activities, challenges, sprints, hackathons. As I said, we got 4 in this semester. In 2 weekends, we will have one that's called Hello Minister, where we have, because we're in Ottawa, center of our capital region, we have ministers coming to meet with students, and these students will work on actual issues like local international issues and write some briefing notes to these ministers. So if they were in public service, what kind of briefing notes and research they would need to provide to the minister so the minister can take the right decisions. We have the city studio model, which is a collaboration with the city of Ottawa, and then extracurriculars, so all other programs for career development. So these are all parts, and I'm sure many and most of the universities here, you all have parts of this ecosystem, but the idea now is, how do we tie it all in together so more students have access, but also we give access in programming that students want. Something that we've noticed is that students will invest their time if there's money at the end of the spectrum. For example, in co-op, having a full-time paid job is is very appreciated by our students. But also, if we can recognize their work through credits, that's also a big motivator for students. So the in-depth experiential learning stream, as I said, it's a program that basically transforms 10 courses throughout the 4 years of an undergrad degree. So we start with the FSS 1300, which is FSS is our Faculty of Social Sciences. It's open to all students, and all students that are participating in the IELS program, they take that to kickstart their experiential learning journey. It's a 3-unit course. So right now the IELS is integrated into 4 programs: international development, anthropology, social work, international studies, and modern languages. So those students throughout their 4 years, they will have these experiential learning activities embedded into their courses. So for year 1, they have 1 course, year 2, they have 2, year 3, they have 3, and year 4, they have another 3, and then there's a floating 3 credits in there to complete the 30 credits. Now, there is some challenges with this model, because we have to sit down with each and every program, look at their courses, and then kind of decide, do the inventory of what courses do you already have that has EL. Can those courses add the new framework that we've decided that basically structure what is EL and how a recognizable form of EL? And so that takes a long time. It takes about 1 to 2 years of integration. So we're thinking of ways, well, could this program be offered like co-op, but more on a university level? So those are questions we're asking right now. Here's a quick video I'd like to share. It's the new self-directed course that we launched last summer, and that as a first phase 1 pilot, and that we're going to continue next winter in a phase 2, but with group projects.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Wow. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm trying to process it right now.
We create these different initiatives to help the youth use their voices, use their opinions, and convert that into actually useful and tactical procedures that can actually go towards a transformation.
Bringing people together through sustainability.
Empowering the next generation of researchers.
We came up with an idea to make construction bricks, but not in a traditional way. And what that means is that we look into incorporating coffee grounds into the construction blocks to help with waste management, for example.
I noticed right away that there was a big lack of professional development events for students. Networking is critical, and just being able to give students the opportunities to build and expand the skills that they need outside of school within their future workplaces.
I'd never really thought that I could even start a club, let alone lead one as I am now. And it wasn't so much about the sustainability aspect for a lot of people. It was about the community building.
I feel like research is just about curiosity, and I'm a very curious person. We all have this passion, we all love research. How can we transmit that to students so they can get inspired by research, or at least also feel the love that we have for research?
We basically gather a bunch of young Africans to talk about problems happening within the continent, but also to push our youth, to push us young students to think about suggestions and solutions that we can provide as well for our countries too.
That's incredible.
Oh, wow. When you put some kind of reward at the end of the tunnel, that encourages students who may not have the time commitment. Let's say if I have 5 classes on the go, I might not have the time to start a club, but if I can drop that down to 4 classes and then do it, I know that the summer course is there and it's a project led by myself and I can bring a team together and earn a credit. That's huge.
As you work on a project, You're helping people, you're contributing to society, but you yourself, as it grows, you're gonna have a few hiccups, a few roadblocks, a few walls that are put in front of you. But every single step along the way, it helps contribute and build your own character. Your character is what helps you develop your career and take you places.
Cool. So this summer we launched the pilot project to get students to apply. So we worked over the winter. Last winter, we had 300 students register to our info sessions to come and learn about what is this, self-directed course. 150 attended. From the 150, we had 75 that submitted a proposal because we wanted to make sure that students coming into this course already had an idea of a project that they do during the summer. Of those 75, we admitted 50 in the course, and 39 completed the course. So there's a lot of students that are interested by the idea of being able to propose their own projects and work on this on their projects. What we've noticed, though, is kind of like this bell curve where most of the students that registered to the course and submitted proposals, they're all really high achieving students. They're hyper autonomous. They have a ton of skills and agency, and they have the discipline to be able to propose, but also like the confidence to be able to propose a project and see it through. Something that's really interesting about this course is that the end product we don't care about. If the student fails at their project, we give them an A+. We still give them an A+, because the course is not about the project. This is a course about learning. This is about the journey of proposing a project, doing your analysis, doing a proposal of what your actions are going to be, implementing those proposals, getting some feedback, and then ending up with a project. It's the learning process of actually building all of those skills to be able to be a master of your own domain. And so things that we've seen, for example, we had a Telfer student that wanted to do a creative project. They wrote a novel during the summer. And so we had a lot of questions. Well, writing a novel is not a Telfer faculty. Telfer is our business management faculty. So writing a novel is not, something that typically a business major would do. Sure. However, this student wrote a Gantt chart. This student used all of their skills that they're learning in their management courses to be able to plan out how many pages they'd write per day for their novel. They used all of their skills from their faculty and from their courses to be able to organize their project to build their fictional characters. At the same time, we had this FSS student, which is in poli-sci. He runs a student painting business in the summertime. And his project was to create a training manual for his employees. What is a good leader? What is a good boss? How do you train people that have never painted houses before? And, when you're a homeowner and you're spending thousands of dollars to get your home painted, you want to have some employees that show up that kind of convey a little bit of trust, right? And confidence. And so those two students, they should switch maybe their majors, but they all used everything they were learning from their classes and from their programs into this course. And this course was meant for them to learn how to learn how to, take risks and create a project. And if it failed, well, it failed, but they had all of the steps to learn how to change it. And that's a really big change in philosophy for teaching. And that's what the experiential learning is all about. I could talk about this for days. So as you can see, I'm a little bit really, a big nerd about this stuff. Speaking of nerds, let's get into the framework. So the big thing here is that we want students with agency. So how do we build agency? Agency is really the ability of oneself to be an agent of change. So students that believe that their actions count, so they have confidence that they can transform the world. And they believe because they have the confidence, but they also have the knowledge and the skills to be able to do that. We build that agency by giving students a little bit of autonomy, one after the other. A little bit of autonomy and agency and in authentic settings. So that first year introduction to EL is kind of like at the bottom of this curve, right? So in those projects, students, they are given a little bit of autonomy, but a lot of structure from the prof so they can work in their projects. The more they gain experience, the more they gain confidence. The more they gain confidence, the more they want to try something a little bit more complex. And then your activities, they can gain into intensity all the way up until students are ready to do a self-directed course where they can propose their own project and run with it. So in here, we actually categorized 4 levels of intensity: foundational, applied, integrated, and immersive projects. And so with our 3A model, but with our EL framework, now we have the tools to be able to help profs design activities that are either fundamental or applied or integrated or immersive. And like that, we can actually map out the types of activities students are doing on campus, put them on the map, and then we can actually build programs that gradually kind of like that creates the scaffolding. So they gain the skills and they gain the confidence and the agency to be able to move forward with all of their projects. So this is part of the EL framework that we've been developing. So there's the quantification or the categorization of the intensity is based on these 4 things. So there's a dynamic problem that the student will be able to explore. Are they exploring it by themselves, proposing it, or is that dynamic problem kind of proposed by the professor? So that's where you control the autonomy of the student. The second thing is that students are going to develop new knowledge and new skills in their specific to their discipline in clearly defined learning outcomes. So are the students writing their own SMART goals, for example, or are they written by the prof? They must absolutely receive authentic feedback. And so this is the trickiest one because most courses, you have 3 of the 4. Getting authentic feedback from a skill that you're developing is extremely hard for a professor that's teaching 200 students. They can't give that direct feedback to all of those 200 students. So how do we design a way to give that feedback to all the students? And then the 4th thing, as you know, this is the Kolb learning cycle. You need to be able to reflect back on the journey, on the new skills that you've acquired. So those are the 4 parameters of our framework, and those are the 4 parameters that kind of dictate if an activity is EL or not, and what intensity it is. And I guess this slide just kind of repeats exactly that kind of framework. So we're trying to keep it simple. We got, just 4 of those components. And is it open or closed? And that kind of gives us the intensity for our activities. So now we can start mapping out, where all our activities are on campus. A case study court observation, for example, a simulated scenario, a mediated workshop, group facilitation, supervised, then self-directed course, action research projects. They're all on this scale of agency. And here's some other examples. Now, obviously, I'm going to share some this presentation with everybody. Before I go to the next section, would there be any questions? I know time is. I've already spoken for about half an hour.
Do we have any questions in the room? I don't
That's
see
fine.
any hands.
I'll just continue and I'll open up the floor at the end of the presentation. So for the self-directed course, I guess I'm backtracking a little bit, but I just want to show kind of like the sequence of events of what happens in this course. And so at the beginning of the course, the students will submit a proposal, their idea of what their project is going to be. We evaluate the projects on the basis of, is it feasible? Is it safe for the student? And is it ethical as well? From there, the students will write a detailed proposal where they're going to write in what the skills that they are going to be developing, who their mentor is going to be. A mentor is somebody that's going to be able to actively observe them working on their project and observe them working on their SMART goals so they can give some feedback. So that person doesn't need to be a prof. It doesn't always need to be a supervisor. Typically, like in a co-op situation, it's your direct supervisor. But in group settings or in a project like this could be other students that you're working with. Now, after about 2 weeks of this semester has started, they've submitted their detailed project proposal. They start their activity. The activity that the students do for the like a 3-credit self-directed course, it's about 120 hours of work. So they decide what their schedule is going to be like. It depends on the project. If it's semester long, where it's very condensed, full time, 30 hours, 35 hours a week. And then, but at the midpoint of their project, there's an interim report where they kind of do an update on their project proposal. They get some active feedback from their mentor, and then they start the reflection process. Every week they have to submit a reflective journal. So, and that's a way for us, the teaching staff or the TAs, to kind of like have a little bit of a glimpse on the project, how it's going, if they have questions, if there's any intervention that's needed, some coaching. And also it helps the students kind of like write down their reflections, because then in their interim and final reports, they can go back to their journal and then review their thought process and then their journey, and then they can use that material to create better reflections in their final reports. So for planning the competency objectives, so these are the SMART goals. We've developed an online course. We use Brightspace, the D2L, called the uOCompetencies. The uOCompetencies is a set of 11 competencies. Nothing brain-shattering here. It's communication, collaboration, self-awareness. The idea here is that it kind of stemmed from co-op, where in co-op, we asked our students, well, write yourself a goal of something you want to achieve during your semester. But without any framework, whenever it's too abstract, students look at you like deer in headlights. So this course just basically gives them the key components of what these skills are. It's not a course on developing those skills. It's a course on how to write a good SMART goal. And here are some ideas that you can use from these 11 competencies. So we've integrated this uOCompetencies kind of program throughout a bunch of courses and a bunch of scenarios, including the self-directed course. We started with co-op, and with that, we've seen an increase in the quality of the SMART goals and the reflections. So the big trick here was getting some active feedback. How do you, as get a third party to come in and give feedback to students? And so we have students, we have the professor, and then we have this unknown mentor that's going to give feedback to the students based on their SMART goals. So we've designed with our team this brand new app. It's basically an online portfolio. This was designed by students. It's for students. So it's all student facing, and no profs have access to this unless students take a screenshot and send it and uses it as proof in their assignment submissions. And so you see here, there's like 6 little kind of cards. Those are 6 different projects or 6 different experiences. And throughout, the student will write their SMART goal, share it with their mentor, receive some feedback, and then write a reflection. And so we have different models where you have 2 reflections, one at the midpoint, one at the end, one only at the end, or sometimes there's no mentor. So for example, a student going to a conference, they didn't meet anybody, but they want to register the conference as developing a new skill, then there's a self-reflection. And so this is the new tool that we're using that we needed so we could really get to that third component of our EL framework, which is getting that reflection. There is other on-market programs that do the same thing. For example, when we developed the self-directed course, we partnered up with the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. Because they've been running the self-directed course for over 8 years. They use a program called PebblePad. Unfortunately for us is that we need to translate everything in French and English because we're officially bilingual university. And so a lot of times we have to create things in-house. Now, data is super important. How do we know that students are actually developing new skills? And so when students write their SMART goal, they actually rate themselves on a scale, and we call it, we're using the Faculty of Medicine's trustability scale. That's the how much do you trust somebody, like a doctor or a nurse, to like poke a client with a syringe, right? So you have to be able to observe the skill, the person giving the syringe, and they need to be able to build some trust that they have that skill mastered before going on and doing it professionally, independently. So we use that scale, and we've modeled it for developing skills. So are you exploring the skill, or are you all the way up to innovating in the skill? So we ask students to rate themselves on that scale, and we ask their mentors to rate themselves on that scale. And what we see here, and this is what the graph is saying, is that the dotted lines, they're together. That's the post. At the beginning, the students, they usually rate themselves around the practicing a little bit more. Their mentors at the midpoint of their assessment, because they've seen them work for like half a semester, they rate them more at the excelling. But what happens is that when the student and their mentor talk to each other, they have coaching, they discuss what their plans are, how they're meeting their objectives, that's where they start having the same opinion of their skills development, because together they get to have some active feedback, they get to problem solve why or why not they're reaching their goals, make a plan, and then they move forward. And that's really the main objective here. We want students to develop these skills. How do we quantify the skills? How do we make sure that it's not just a check mark like, yeah, I did the presentation and I'm good at presenting. We wanted to have a really strict framework to be able to quantify the development of these skills. And because now we have a data hub and we have the Power BIs and we have these dashboards, we've integrated this into courses, into programs, into the work study program, into the co-op program. Now we have a ton of data coming in. And so we can actually quantify what types of intensity of EL is actually producing higher skills development. So this is, again, a lot of fun. And so we get to test this now. We've been doing this for the last year or two. And we can see as well a picture of like what are the selected competencies that students typically take. And then we can zoom in on programs, we can zoom in on groups of students, we can zoom in on faculties, we can zoom in on activities and the skills required for those programs, activities, faculties, group of profiled students. And here, the pie chart is the competencies selected by the work study program. And so communication is typically number one. But in this one, it was intellectual curiosity and lifelong learning, which was number two. Typically, that's number four. Communications, collaboration, problem solving are typically the top three. Worldview and civic engagement is typically the last two. And which that also gives us an indicator as well. Maybe we should add a little bit more programming in civic engagement because we want people to be able to engage with the world and change it. That means you need to go outside and be active citizens. And so that's a very much a more abstract value proposition than communication is very clear as a skill. But those are that's a type of concepts that if we don't quantify it, if we don't look at it, it doesn't exist. But now we have the tools to be able to say, you know what, we need to work on civic engagement. We want students that are full of agency, and that civic engagement is kind of important.
Gabriel, we have a
Yes.
couple questions in the chat. I just wondered if now might be a good time to ask them.
Yeah, sure.
The first one was, what additional resources in CDL were required or will be required as you scale up this project?
It's a great question. So all of these, a lot of our projects, we benefited from different funding opportunities. The uOCompetencies were initially funded by the RBC Future Launch. We did get some CWIL funding to develop some programming. Right now, to implement the Design Your Life components of our career path. We're writing some proposals. For the IELS, the In-depth Experiential Learning program, it was Heritage Canada that came in with a huge grant. And so, but a lot of the times these grants, they are for developing like a single project.
Yes.
And a lot of the times this is, like how does the project survive once the money's gone? And
Good
that's
question.
that's a crazy big question and it's very complex to answer. So we focus on building capacity and we focus on building scalability because we want to reach all students. And so now that we've tested, for example, the self-directed course, how do we reach more students? With the same resources. Now the IELS, the in-depth experiential learning stream, there is kind of like co-op an added tuition fee that is added to that program. So then there's money coming into CDL and there's money going to the faculties that are hosting the programs, and that money is used not necessarily to hire TAs or new profs, but is for capacity building. For example, we need an inventory of experiential learning programming. So kind of like off the shelf activities that profs can use and adapt to their scenarios, to their classroom. So
So there, sorry, go ahead.
no,
There
no,
is
go ahead.
another question. There is another question from a faculty lens. How do you determine who the faculty members are for the courses? And since these are independent study courses, how does this affect the faculty's workload?
Right. It's a great question. So we always work with champions, right?
Okay.
We we create working relationships with faculty members, with profs. We all have these profs that have great ideas and come in and want to join, new activities. It's the mainstreamers that are always waiting for you to fail to then say, oh, well, now it's cool, I'm going to join in. So you got to go with your champions that are willing to develop and create with you. All of these pieces of our ecosystem, it's all an iterative process to develop. And so there's always some learning that's going on. For example, this summer, we didn't have any group projects in our self-directed course. All of the 50 projects there were all individual. And so there's a big gap there because I don't know how to handle 16 groups of 5 students, and you're going to have some dysfunctional groups and you're going to have some great groups. And how does the coaching work? And so we're going to open up the course next winter, but only for group projects so we can test out that model. So
And
what's
go ahead.
easy is that I'll call everything a pilot because that's I don't know why, but that you get through the door when you call something a pilot. And then it's an iterative process. The other thing is that you need to have your leadership on board. And so every single step, we have the leadership board of all the vice deans of every faculty. Every month they have a meeting. So we kind of like interjected and we have a presentation about our self-directed course or about our our in-depth experiential learning stream at that meeting, so that those ideas can trickle down to staff.
So I'm conscious of time. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put a pin. There are a few more questions in the chat. I'm going to put a pin in the questions and allow you to kind of move through. We have 12 minutes left. Go
Well, I
ahead.
only have a few slides. So
Perfect.
in the next step, we need a communication strategy to get everybody on board, right? So the communication strategy here is, I have it in French, but vive des expériences concrètes, live concrete experiences. That's the main message that we're sending to students. How do you live concrete experiences? Apprendre à se connaître, learn about yourself, enrichir son expérience universitaire. So participate in experiential learning. And then bâtir ton avenir is build your future. So learn about yourself, live experiences, and then design your future. So those are the 3 key messages, and that's how that's going to shape our strategy in the future. So coming soon, coordinated projects with Indigenous Action Plan. So our Indigenous Resource Center has developed a new action plan for Indigenous students. There's a guide for faculties and professors on inventorying, categorizing EL activities. How do you that inventory, as I was talking about. EL activity design and integration guide, EL activity pathways, integrating agency design thinking and design your life method. The design your life method is something that we like to integrate more in our career services. So students don't just come in for a resume review, but they come in to basically build a plan for the future and have that agency. Integrating of professional skills in the uOCompetencies app. So the uOCompetencies app right now, students can write in their SMART goals, based on the 11 competencies. There's a free section in there. However, we have professional faculties like medicine and engineering or even social work. They have their own competencies that are regulated by their own colleges. And so we're going to add those competencies specific to those programs so students can start building their portfolios that resemble their professional work. And then large-scale rollout of the new self-directed course. So this winter is group only, and then next summer it'll be full-blown for all 3 semesters. So summer, fall, winter, and then we're gonna roll out with that. So that is that.
Thank you so much. That is fascinating, the development of this program and how you've rolled it out. I want to say a big thank you. We do have a couple more questions. So, who finds the student mentors? When we were talking about kind of developing this program, how did you define the student mentors? And there are a couple more questions after that. So, go ahead.
So, it's super important for students to get active feedback on the skills that they decide that they will work on. So depending on the activity, sometimes it's decided by the program. In the co-op program, for example, the student mentor is their direct supervisor. So very traditional. But like in the Hello Minister hackathon that we're going to do, so that's like it runs from Friday to Sunday over a weekend. Students come in and they work all weekend on these proposals and briefing notes. They're going to be working in teams of 5, and so each team member will select another mentor, and will basically say, Jimmy will tell Sally, here's my SMART goal I want to develop during our course. At the end on Sunday, there's a pitch competition. I'm super nervous about presenting, and I really want to be able to practice my public speaking. So that's my goal. So then Jimmy's going to say, I'm going to be your mentor, and I'll give you some pointers, or I'll give you some feedback as you practice. So that basically gives them the chance and the tools to be able to talk about those goals and not just keep it in your mind.
Great. So there's another question. Would love to hear more about how you're planning to incorporate the designing your life content into your programming.
Mm-hmm. So the design your life, it's based on design thinking. Basically, if you ask a teenager, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? It's a big blank stare, right? And so in your teenage years, the first thing that they're doing is the design of their own identity, right? Who am I? What are my skills? What are my interests? And so that's kind of like step 1 of your design your life. And then you move in on, well, you explore your skills, you explore your ambitions and your interests, and then you start practicing, and it's a very iterative process. You practice, you fail, you come back in, you change, you problem solve, and then you move forward. And so a way I'm thinking about designing it is that for our career services, for example, maybe we could start with knowing yourself kind of programming in September. And then in October, we move to the second phase, career exploration. And then in November, we move to practicing skills. And then in January, we repeat the process. So there's 4 or 5 kind of like stages of design your life. And so if we dedicate 1 month to each thing, and then we just do it in a cycle, we can organize all of our programming. And so whenever we have a request for a new program, a new idea, we could say, you know what, that's kind of like career exploration. That's an October or February thing. Let's plug it over there. And so the student kind of like gets used to a cycle of development, and it's easier for staff as well to kind of like look long term into inventing and trying out new ideas.
Okay, so one final question. How did you involve programs and faculty in developing your experiential learning framework? Was it shaped by existing practices or designed first and then integrated over time? Also, have you encountered resistance to labeling activities as EL? As I engage with colleagues about will in my college context, with primary applied skills programming, some folks insist their EL or will practices are simply long-standing core. I notice that sounds surprising to you, Gabriel, or does
Yeah,
it sound
yeah, yeah, yeah.
familiar?
It's a lot of fun. So and that's the thing is it's an iterative process, but like you need to start building your things. And sometimes you don't know where you're going. So okay, so in 2020, that's when we designed the uOCompetencies. We needed a competency framework. But so we designed the uOCompetencies. We did a great job, but then it was really tough to integrate into courses. It was really tough to integrate into things. We used the co-op because co-op, well, we're in charge of co-op and we can decide of what the curriculum looks like. So we said, co-op, you're going to test our uOCompetencies. And it's also part of co-op why we needed these because their SMART goals weren't super smart. The quality wasn't there. So students needed a better framework. But from there, from the uOCompetencies, well, we needed extra tools. Like how do you get that feedback? The main thing that happened was the Heritage Canada Foundation fund gave us the tools or the resources to start the in-depth experiential learning stream. And so this stream needed an EL framework because in the stream, we need 30 students to do 30 credits of experiential learning. And in the stream, that means that some courses we can change already because like in social work, for example, they already have placement and internships. But we needed a framework to say, well, what is experiential learning? So we went the easy route. Well, not the easy route, but like we used stuff that already exists. The Kolb cycle, for example. So we use a Kolb cycle. Everybody knows the Kolb cycle. Brock University has it plastered on their website. Do all profs, even though it's written there, follow the Kolb cycle? Not necessarily. So that's where it's kind of like how McDonald's makes sure that the quality control of everything, they own the real estate. If you own the real estate, well, then you can say, well, this course is or is not. You have to make it simple, and so, but we're still testing. So, with the framework that has the 3A model, that has the intensity graduation, but that's based on the Kolb cycle of the 4 components. It's kind of easy, but yeah, there's always resistance. We're working with professors here that have, that they are all specialized in their domains. But AI is changing education, right? And we have to adapt. And it's going to change the way that we're going to teach. So change the way that we're going to build our courses. And so it's a do or die moment, honestly. And I think that experiential learning, CWIL, and work integrated learning is our golden ticket to be able to teach the next generation.
So thank you. That provides a perfect segue. I do want to tell you that someone posted in the chat, Gabriel Ramsay, you are an inspiration to us all. So upon that, I want to say a great thank you. And you provided the perfect segue. Join us next week in Learning and Development as we have a session presented by Kate Cassidy called Generative AI, Preparing Students for Ethical and Effective Use in the Workplace. So if you enjoyed this series and you enjoyed this presentation, thank you, Gabriel. Join us next week, same time. We're happy to have you share with us this presentation on generative AI. So with the end of our session, I say thank you again. Thank you all. If you're interested, please feel welcome to reach out to Gabriel. I'm sure he's happy to chat. And I wish you all a wonderful day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.